Hey, Kings fans, welcome to another series and episode of LAKings Corner. We're stoked to have you with us. This is the insider's view for the fans, by the fans. Today's guests, obviously myself, Ryan Marvin. We're stoked to welcome Joshua Norse, Corey the Keeper Marvin, and Dallas Marvin as well. Hey, we're going to hop into and do a quick review of the game 6. Let's go ahead and start off with Josh. Josh, Kings lost game 6, 5-4. Kind of taking a look at the recap and peeking in. What were some of the key highlights of the game from a Kings fan perspective?
That they didn't quit, really. That was because they could have. After down 3-1, you're thinking they could just roll over here, but they didn't. They fought back. And this is possibly one of the things that hurts the most about it, is the boys, that they worked their bags off the entire series. Regardless of whatever I think about X's and O's or systematically, whatever it is that I think, I know that they did leave it all out there. Everybody on that roster worked their bag off. So it's really hypothetically, again, if any players on the Kings eventually get around to listening to this podcast, want to salute the entire Kings roster for working hard. I didn't see anybody out there taking shifts off. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. And then we can touch on that a little bit more in depth, but we'll stay focused. Haircore, what were some of the highlights from your perspective?
From the series or the game?
The game. Just focused on game 6 today.
Focus on game 6, yeah. Honestly, I thought it was probably another one of those kind of roller coaster of emotions, right? I had to turn my phone off. I was getting frustrated, but to see them battle back, like Josh said, they didn't quit. Man, Adrian Kempe, that goal on the power play really fired you up, dude. That guy was something this series. Watching him was amazing. Just Dustin's the first training camp, he said that this guy's a star. He used the word, he's a star. He's a star. I was, I think people saw flashes of that early, like Dustin did. But it just goes to show how hard it is to hit that level, even of a guy like Kempe, who you could see he has it in him. He really didn't find that stardom until like this year, when he's really starting to pop off with that goal scoring, right? So it just goes to show the development of this team. I think that stood out to me. I think in years past, we would have rolled over, wouldn't have been able to have that star power like we saw with Kempe, and be able to score some big goals and keep that game close. It was frustrating. It would, you see that fourth goal, they tied up, and then we can't make it to OT again. And it's just a disappointing feel at the end of the day, because Josh is right. I think they did try hard. They did work their bags off. Not everything went their way. They certainly scored when they needed to keep things close and keep it in striking distance. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. But yeah, I mean, I thought they played hard. I definitely didn't leave it like, these guys didn't give a shit. They didn't put their all into it. So at the end of the day, you just hate the outcome, but you really like what you saw out of the guys.
Adrian Kempe, 26 years old, first round draft pick, 29th overall, 2014. Nice to see him come to fruition. Good call. Dallas, what was your take? Game 6, obviously, some of the highlights from the Kings fan perspective for you.
For me, it was nice to see Fiala get his first playoff goal in the Kings uni. So that was exciting. He seemed like he was playing on one leg. I mean, since that Cogliano hit that took him out, you could just see he was battling for about the last, 2 months. Mm-hmm. So just to see him get in the Kings jersey, see him get his first goal as a King, that was exciting. I'd love to have him healthy. But I would reiterate what Josh and Core said. Just Kempe was always the guy when the Kings seemed down, he would pop one in and just give the guys life, So it was cool to see Fiala and Kempe are 2 stars, really come out in game 6 and try to keep the momentum rolling when we were down.
That's great. Yeah. And I think the power play did a great job. It was nice to see the Kings capitalize there, and we'll go over their percentage over the course of the series, but in game 6 as well, they didn't go away. They didn't go away. They came back and they battled to tie it up. three different times they came back and battled. But for every answer the Kings had, obviously Edmonton had an answer. And it's just the tale of the series, really. But in a game 6 perspective, when your backs are against the line and you get down early, you show that fortitude to continue to fight back. And I think that's the type of resilience we're looking for. With that being said, from a fan's perspective, that's what I expect. Those are the expectations that we have, that you never quit, that you never back down. So to me, the saying that we're happy with them not quitting, well, I mean, that's their job, right? So good for them for that. But wholeheartedly, I would love to see us moving on to game 7. So the highlight of the game from that perspective, we did get to see that power play click, no quit. So let's just keep it on that from our perspectives. Turning points that stood out to you. Okay, so this will dive into a little bit more specifics on the turning points of the game. Core, what was the biggest turning point of the game? If you could pinpoint one, I know there's multiple, but what was the one turning point for you that stood out?
I think Adrian Kempe's power play goal, just the way that he scored, it gave me confidence. It's like, oh, there he is. There we are, the fact that it was on the power play, the way that he scored that goal, that guy he showed some elite level scoring ability, man. He put that thing in there. And all of a sudden I just had this belief, like, wait a minute, we got guys on this side too. Like, we're not done. We're here. We have guys. So that's when I really believed that we weren't going to be done. You know what I mean? The way he scored that goal, how he did it, the confidence, you see it in him after he scores that goal, he believes, you know what I mean? Not like he's happy, he's hopeful. He's like, that's me. I can do this and I will continue to keep doing this. He had that confidence. You could just tell is exuding out of him. So that for me was really when I just he made me believe, because he was showing it. He was feeling it. He was believing it. And he convinced me too. So I that was it for me, really, to know that these guys are here and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, great postseason for him. Good call on that turning point for us. I mean, that definitely brought us back in the game and gave the building life. I feel like after that, it really injected, because at that point, the Kings were down 2. They were able to crawl back from a 2-goal deficit to retie the game. Shortly thereafter, Costin, gets his goal to go ahead. But good call. 8 points on the series, was a -3, but obviously you're not getting pluses when you're scoring on the power play. But overall, 8 points in 6 games. That's pretty good. Over a point per game production from him. Josh, what was your key turning point from the game based on the recap?
Yeah, so admittedly, I was at work during most of game 6, but my head was elsewhere. I was trying to watch as most of the game as I possibly could. And so I missed all the intricacies of the game, or little idiosyncrasies of the game. So I can't really point out, little tiny points in the game where I thought, oh, that could be a turning point, or that might be a turning point. But I'll tell you what the turning point for me is, anyhow, is the obvious one. The Danault 4th goal is supposed to be the turning point. That's the thing that's supposed to catapult you to that victory. But that's not the turning point. The turning point for me is what we do immediately afterward. The turning point is the immediate standing pat or retreat after you score the 4th goal. To me, that's the turning point in the game that allows them to just continue to do what they were doing the whole time. So Marv was saying every time the Kings answered, Edmonton had another answer or something like that. Here's the problem, the turning points, I guess you could say. The reason that we have to answer all the time is because we're not the ones asking the questions. Edmonton's always asking the questions to us, and then we have to answer. And even the small, so even the times where we did ask a question of Edmonton, really only once, was up 3-0 in game 4. I'll try to keep game 6. They answered that question, and we failed to ask more of them. So they really had to answer one of our questions. So the turning point to me is, again, taking it back to game 6, is you get the hype in the building after the Danault goal. There's the belief is supposed to be there. Then this hoping that we win, that's supposed to be eradicated. That Danault goal is supposed to say, we believe we can win now. And to not take that and go for it after the tie and to retreat is the turning point for me. And I think that's why Edmonton ended up scoring late and sent us to play our little 18 holes.
Literally and figuratively, Josh, that was the break that we were looking for, right?
Mhm.
Because Skinner's stick breaks,
Yep.
and that's what we needed because we were killing a penalty at that time to get that break, but then to not capitalize on that. That I agree. I think that that's kind of what you're looking for, what you need to win that game, and you don't quite get it done. Dallas, what do you think? Was there anything that stood out to you from a turning point?
I think Josh hit like the nail right on the head, and I was kind of talking about it earlier. It just seemed like when the Kings would finally get that confidence, score that goal, battle back, they would always seem to get back into that 1-3-1. They would fail to push forward and ask more questions of the Edmonton defense. I honestly didn't think Edmonton's defensemen could handle some of the skill that the Kings have on forwards. And I think the Kings could have done a little bit better of a job of putting the pressure on them instead of just seeing what they were going to do and sit back on the 1-3-1. So I agree with Josh wholeheartedly that we didn't ask enough questions of what they could do defensively, putting them under pressure when we would battle back. And when the Kings would score, they'd be like, oh, here we go. They're going to start getting 1, 2, 3. It just kind of seemed like the Kings were wanting to sit back and see what the Oilers were going to do next after we score our tying goal. So I think that was a good note, Josh.
Yeah, good call. Good call on that. Dust, thanks for joining us, brother. Hey, we're just touching on game 6 solely, not really looking at the whole series as a whole, but wanted to stay focused here and see right now we're talking about the turning points of the game. Corey had mentioned from a positive turning point, Kempe's power play goal that retied the game. And then Josh mentioned, the way that the Kings kind of bounced or the direction that they took after getting the break of Skinner's stick breaking and Deneau tying it up. And Dallas reiterated that as well. Was there anything that stood out to you from a turning point perspective?
I mean, those are probably the two huge things. And I would say just on top of the Kempe and the positive side of things, seeing Fiala get on the board, he's really been like the key cog in our power play. To see him, tie the game up to get the game tied 3-3, that was awesome. But to just give up kind of a soft, even strength goal after that, to go down 4-3 after we just, got some momentum back to tie the game. And they really had nothing going. Drew didn't get the puck really hard around the wall, left Mikey in a tough spot in the corner. And then, they get a shot from the point. Yamamoto tips it, huge save by Korpisalo. And then Kostin comes in again and puts the Oilers up 4-3, really with nothing going. So that was just, it went from a huge positive with Fiala tying the game up, and then just really just a soft 5-on-5 goal from their depth scoring, put them up 4-3. So
yeah, and guys, it's hard to call a turning point so early in the game, but for me, it was as soon as McDavid got the first goal. That was, in my mind, the turning point of the game. Because as soon as McDavid gets on the board within the first 5 minutes of the game, you now have not broken down the game into 5-minute increments that you cannot win first 5 minutes of the most crucial game of the series. That was the turning point for me. As soon as that puck went in the net, and obviously there's still a ton of hockey left, and they did so good. They're such a good team. They're such professionals. They continue to battle back. But that was the turning point for me. It was early. It happened quick. And as soon as it did, you just had a feeling it wasn't going to end the way we wanted it to. All right, heading into one of the most difficult situations the Kings encountered all series, and again in Game 6, the power play, the penalty kill. Kings could not kill off Edmonton's power play. They did get a shorthanded goal, so they were neutral in that regard in this game. I think Edmonton only had one power play goal and we had one shorthanded goal, so cancel that out, right? That's good. I guess we'll take that positive. What adjustments, if any, do you think the Kings should have made or could they have made throughout the season to kind of help maybe with some of that success? Josh, I'll go with you.
Boy, I don't know. In regards to defending or killing off the Edmonton power play, I don't know. I think it's just something where Edmonton's power play is just what they call it, a well-oiled machine. I don't know what you do to stop it. Because was our penalty kill particularly bad throughout the season? I don't recall it ever being this piss poor. And I don't even know if it was piss poor. I guess you have to say that it was, but I think Edmonton's power play is just such a weapon that I don't know what you do with it. as far as an X's and O's standpoint. I'm not sure because you try to stop McDavid, that cross ice pass is coming, and Draisaitl scores every time. He's Ovechkin over there. Dal, if you know, that's basically Ovechkin's office. I'm not sure if you know where that's at,
On the other
but
side, yeah.
that's basically Ovechkin over there. So it's almost kind of, you have Crosby and Ovechkin on the ice at the same time in their primes with McDavid and Draisaitl. What the hell do you do with that? But if I could take a crack at it, I don't know. So okay, you try to take that cross ice pass away, then McDavid scores. You try to stop McDavid, then he throws cross ice to Draisaitl and he scores. Take both those away, Bouchard has a bomb and then he scores. I don't know what you do with all that weaponry. I guess it probably starts. I mean, this is my best guess at it. Would be in Edmonton's zone, getting pressure up ice before they even enter. That would be my best guess at it. Hope to stop their entry would be the. Not a hope. I don't know. Do something to try and stop it before they even get into the zone.
Yeah, and just to touch on the statistical side, yeah, the Kings struggled with the PK all year. They were 24th in the league, only stopping 75.8%. So
I think that number went down later in the year too. I don't think it started off that bad, or maybe it wasn't that bad last year. But we saw a regression of the PK from my perspective, from a number wise point of view. It may have been the majority of this season, but last year it was a strong point for the Kings, and it had been. It's definitely gone down.
Yeah, and I think that's really good. A good point is that when you look at those PK numbers, you can look at them from a season long and get a real big picture. But I mean, when you're heading into the playoffs, you can also take the last 10 games, right, and see where you're trending. So that's a really good point. You know, that if they were trending better, or were they trending down? I mean, so
I think we were trending down for a long time.
Yeah,
I got a thought here. It's like the Oilers' power play was lethal all year, and then they've been scoring all series. But the Kings stuck to the passive box, and when the Oilers would, have to go chase a loose puck, the Kings still stayed passive. If they're still scoring, what's the problem with, all right, let's just be aggressive when they have our back to us, go after them on the wall and see if we can get this puck out. But if they make one or two passes and end up scoring, it's like they're scoring already on our passive box. Let's try and take their time and space away and see what that does for us. I think the Kings kind of lacked changing their strategy on that. Again, I don't know. All the time I've played on the power play, we want the puck at the point so that D-man can dictate which side it goes, which one-timer they want. And as a penalty killer, you don't want it to go to the point, but it just seemed like the Kings were okay with it going to Bouchard, and then he could just dictate which side the puck went to. So I think the Kings could have been way more aggressive and not trying to cut it into one half of the ice. But
weren't the Oilers 9 for 15 on the power play this series, or something crazy like that, like above 50%? Now going into the playoffs, the Oilers had a historically successful power play. Like I think it may have been number one ever percentage wise in the history of the NHL. So
yeah,
it was already a tough task, but I think Dal just hit the nail on the head. They're already scoring with your passive ways. Shake it up. Try something else. I think you saw it today from the press conferences with Iafallo and may have been Lizotte. Both said something along the lines of, we were too passive, or maybe we can be more aggressive. The players are feeling it. But I mean, that comes from the coaching down. I think the coaches are going to give them the freedom to go be more aggressive or not. Like, the players are going to do their best to play within the system, the structure, because they're trying to trust and do what the coaches are asking of them. They didn't get the green light to be aggressive, to go to the walls when the puck was on the wall. They did not have that green light. I would have loved to see that adjustment to just try something else. Again, Dallas made a great point. It's not working this way. Let's switch it up. And if they score their score, let's try something else. Like, the Oilers' power play was lethal. You just got to try to find something that works. And again, I'm not sure that's what did us in. It didn't help us. But the Oilers' depth scoring was, I think, just they got a little bit more from their depth than we ended up getting.
Yeah, great point, Dust. Great point. I think process over outcome is something that we focus on. We know that that's a key to success in life. We know that that's a key to success in hockey. But at the same time, when you're seeing that your outcomes and you're taking a fresh look at what's going on, then we need to take a look at the process a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to be too quick to pull the chute on things that over the course of time are going to work, right? Because there are plateaus. But in such a short situation where it's a life or death sort of thing, you know what I mean, as far as whether you're playing or not, I would definitely have loved to see some adjustments. And again, how professional the Kings players are in just sticking to the process that's laid out for them. Because if one guy goes astray and starts trying to play aggressive without everybody on board, then we know it's going to end up in the back of the net. I think, Korpisalo got caught in one of those situations, and I shouldn't go back on this maybe, but he basically forgot, we're taking away that cross seam pass. You know what I mean? I can focus on this shooter McDavid. And then again, last night, he finds the cross seam again. And you know what I mean? Draisaitl's bubble, dude, that connection is like, it's next level. How he catches that puck, takes a quick stick handle and can analyze everything where they are and find the seam over and hit him perfectly. And dude, Draisaitl's blade is like the biggest, that's the biggest blade I've ever seen.
For face-off purposes, then he just makes everything else work. Face off some board work, I feel like, and then he's able to shoot with it. It's so strange.
I thought Korpisalo got over. I think as much as I'm not putting it on him, like he's got to come up with that one.
He could make that.
He was there.
I
And it
thought
was
the
not
same
easy.
thing
He
for him in
got
the
there.
moment.
He got his leg was there. His arm was there. Draisaitl kind of put it back against the grain as a goalie. It's so frustrating. I don't know if you guys have any idea how much it hurts when you work your ass to get over somewhere and you stretch out, you get there, and the puck goes back the other way and it comes in a spot. You're like, dude, what am I supposed to do?
Puck shouldn't be there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I got over there because this guy's been beating me. I made the reach. I extended my glove, my pad there, and it just finds a hole, So frustrating. But hey, that's what good goal scorers do.
I'm really curious to see how the Knights try to stop the Oilers power play. I'm just from a curiosity standpoint to see if they can figure anything out. Or
I bet you they'll be more aggressive, Dust. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be more aggressive. I think that we have the guys that we could have done that too, but
yep. I had the same thought, Car. Like, do we not have the guys to play a more aggressive PK? I feel like we got some guys who got some wheels on the PK, but again, I don't know.
And Vegas statistically, just looking, is they're middle of the pack, 19th ranked regular season. We don't know where they're trending in the last, 10 games or so, but definitely will be interesting to see how that goes next season. And keeping it tight. We got about 5 minutes here before we wrap episode 7 up, guys. This is great stuff. Keep bringing it. Despite the loss, the Kings had a number of young guys in the lineup, and we saw them, and they got some good experience. Okay. Did they get enough experience? And do you think it was quality experience that's going to contribute to the success of the team into the future? And then what young guys do you think made the biggest impact? Dallas, I'll start with you.
Biggest young guys that made the biggest impact on the Kings. I mean, it was obviously nice to see Byfield, 20 years old, getting quite a bit of ice time. Other than that, I mean, we didn't see much of Kupari this series. That fourth line really did not get a lot of ice time. And he didn't even he usually is quite a big penalty killer, but I don't think they went to him often a lot on the PK. I'd love to see a little more of him, but I guess for me, it was good to see Quentin Byfield. I mean, I'd love to see him get a little more size and strength to his game. But it's just to see a 20-year-old in the NHL, playing next to Connor McDavid. It's awesome. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Josh, how about you? Young guys.
I'd say it depends on who qualifies for being a young guy. If Gabe Velarde qualifies as being a young guy, then him. He's just an absolute stud, that guy. And I think he battled injuries there down the stretch. He's battled injuries virtually his whole career. To see let's just call it a resurgence, to see Gabe perform at the level that we always thought he could perform at is really quite something. And we need a guy like Gabe. That line, the Velarde, I actually don't know if they even went with it game 6. That's how much I didn't see of it. But it was still Fiala, Velarde, and Iafallo. That line was epic. I guess Quentin Byfield is still a project, right? And I don't want to just say the same things over and over again, but I just look at the career of Tage Thompson and the trajectory that he was on. It looks identical to that of Quentin Byfield. So we're going to have to stay the course with Quentin and really grow and endure the growing pains along with him. So when I throw this in there, this is a small sample size just for the power play or the penalty kill rather. This is the last 5 games. Okay, so it's very small sample size. We went over, or we killed all 4 penalties against Vancouver. Then we played Edmonton, and they had 4 power play opportunities. They scored on 2 of them, so that's 50. And then from there, Vegas had 4 opportunities. They scored once, and we didn't concede a power play goal the rest of the season. That last 3 games. So I don't know where we were trending with those, with the down the stretch, but I'm not sure. We definitely struggled with the Edmonton power play. Young guys though, Gabe.
23 years old, first round draft pick, 11th overall. You know, give Byfield 3 more years, and you know maybe he's contributing at that level. So, Dust, what about you?
A couple things come to mind. I think just along with the Byfield thing, another guy we can look at just for Byfield's trajectory is Jack Hughes. I don't know if you guys remember his entry into the league, a little bit slower, you know, highly touted. But if you look at him this year for the Devils, especially in the playoffs, he is like, if, you know, not the best player on the Devils, the best player in their whole series. He's, you know, he's a stud. So I don't know if it was fair for Byfield to get the center role last night, but I also do love the aspect that McClellan was able to trust him in a, you know, go home situation. So he's got some trust there. I'd say he's probably the youngest guy who has the most trust from the coaching staff. Kupari got some time on the PK, and I don't know what happened with. I like Kupari. I got a spot for Kupari in my heart, but I just don't think he had the best series, and I don't think he's got a whole ton of trust right now. So I'm just hope he's able to have a big offseason to come back, because I think he's got a lot to offer to this roster. I just don't think he had the best postseason. And then last thought, I don't think Kempe is necessarily a young guy, but it is only his 2nd playoff run, if I'm recalling correctly. And I think he is just absolute stud and a top line guy that we are going to rely on for the next 5 to 8 years. So I love Kempe.
Good call. Cora, I don't know if there's anybody left, but why don't you go ahead and close this out?
I don't know. I think for a young guy's standpoint, yeah, Blake Lizotte, we could say. I mean, I don't know. He didn't get a lot of playing time. He got hurt. I just like that guy. I really wanted not to like Blake Lizotte, but then he goes down. You kind of miss him. You're like, dang, he does kind of slot things good. You got somebody who's pesty and can kill penalties. I think, but yeah, Byfield would have been my pick as well. Even though Joshy's a Tim Stutzel boy, Tim Stutzle, Joshy. Where would we be right now with Tim Stutzel, boys? That's the question.
I love Timmy 2 goals, bud. You know that.
Imagine him on the top line. Where are we at right now? Maybe we're not golfing. Maybe I don't have a freaking golf course behind me. We draft Tim Stutzel.
Well, he's golfing too, so who knows?
Oh, shoot. No, I love it, dude. I think Gabe Velarde was huge.
Real quick on Velarde. Did you guys hear Fiala pumping up Velarde this morning in the whatever the locker room session? Fiala, like, just unprovoked, was just singing Velarde's praises.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy that Fiala wants to play with next year.
Yeah. And he's got it. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, he has it. And it may not be the speed of Connor McDavid, obviously, but he has it. Whatever it is, he has it. Guy comes in, the goal he scored just proves it. I mean, he's got it. You know what I mean? And you can, his feet and all that stuff, just put him in the right area. Luke Robitaille seemed to do just fine. He couldn't skate either. So we just got to figure out how to put him where he needs to be, because he's got what it takes, and he'll find a way to score when we need him to. So yeah, I love Gabe Velarde.
Here's a guy that we don't think of as a young guy because he's been around for so many years now, and he's done so well. Mikey Anderson's 23 years old, and he had his 2nd playoff season against Edmonton again, and still continued to be a pain in the ass for 2 of the best players in the freaking world. Had a couple great hits last night, stepping up at the blue line, putting in some Rob Blake checks through the neutral zone. I really liked Mikey's performance, and obviously, we just got him for a great contract too. I think that he's solid as Drew gets a little bit older. This the kind of the culture guy that he is, also with his performance on the ice, man. I just think Mikey Anderson getting those reps in the playoffs is a huge bonus for the Kings going forward.
Yeah, great number, right? That contract's gonna be such good value. Jack Hughes, that to kind of go back to what Dustin was saying, the Devil fans were pissing and moaning about that contract he got. And then Biz was saying on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, "Oh, do you guys give it a couple years? You're gonna be praying, like loving that number." Look at Kempy's number now, look at Mikey's number. We got some dudes on good contracts. We got Kempy for a few more at a really good number, so we have to find a way to do something now. We'll get into that stuff, I guess, later. Now's not the time for that talk,
Right.
but that'll be exciting because there's a lot to unpack with the
I was going to say, right before you started talking about Mikey, we didn't really talk about much any defensemen, this whole podcast. So
Well, and I think most of our decors in the middle of their career, and except for Anderson, even Dursey's 24. You know what I mean, and he didn't have a great series. He got the goal, obviously, game 6 goal, which is awesome. He's fired up, but he just looked like he was vulnerable out there. And I don't know if it was because of the pairing situation. You know what I mean? I think you got to have another guy out there who's on the same wavelength.
he's
a little
aggressive.
bit.
He's an aggressive guy, and you put him with Edler or Walker, who he might not trust, if he goes up and leaves him exposed. Like when you're playing with Mikey Anderson or someone, a Gavrikov or Matt Roy, who can shut people down behind you, you have more confidence to go up and play your game. I don't know if he had that.
Yeah, I think it's a pair. I like that you guys both said that. I didn't have full belief in that bottom pairing. It's not that I don't believe Dursey, and sure, he's not perfect, but you got to have a pair that works, man. The Matt Green to your Alec Martinez, that's where it started for that pair. And look where it went, right? Look at Martinez now. So that should be a similar thought process we should have for that bottom pairing, is find a partner that works for that other guy,
Yeah.
And I don't think we have it right now, but we'll get into that in another podcast.
Yeah, and go ahead, Dust. Yep.
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure Dursey is gonna be wearing a King sweater next year.
Is he up? His contract?
You just look at the right side, it's going to be Drew, Roy, and if you want Brant Clark in the lineup, Dursey's probably getting shipped out.
Well, we have a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
folks. We have a lot to talk about from a Kings perspective, and as disappointing as it is to be eliminated officially from the NHL playoffs, we thank you guys so much for joining us. This is just the beginning of the LA Kings Corner podcast. We've got a lot more in store. There's some ways you can get a hold of us. If you've got ideas or you just want to be a part of this community as it grows, get in now, get in early, have an impact in the growth, and you'll be, I guarantee, good things will happen for you and for us, and of course, for the LA Kings. Go ahead and send us an email at lakingscorner@gmail.com. Find us online at LA Kings Corner on Instagram and Twitter. Boys, wrapping it up for the 2023 post playoff run. Closing thoughts. Josh, I'll start with you.
Well, so as much as I've been kind of disappointed with the approach to the series, there's some look, this is the thing that you guys have mentioned this every single time we needed to score goals. I want to say with the exception of game 5, but even for a period in game 5, we also did this. We scored goals when we needed to score goals. So my takeaway, I suppose, from the series and from game 6 is, here's the thing that hurts the most about the loss. There's an ongoing narrative now amongst Kings fans on social media that is sort of accepting the reality that the Edmonton Oilers were a superior team than the Los Angeles Kings. And that's fine. That's a humble approach to things. It's reasonable enough. But from what I can tell, from my vantage point, I don't suspect their goaltending is better than ours. I don't think their defense is better than ours. So that leaves the offense, that leaves the forward lines, that the offense, their firepower was superior to ours. This is what hurts the most. I don't think that question was answered. I don't think we actually fully got to find out whether or not we could skate and score offensively with the Edmonton Oilers, because we never tried to do it. We sat there and we had our structure and we had our system and we stuck to it. And I suppose that's what you got to do. But there are questions that didn't get answered in the series, and I think that's the most frustrating thing for me. And I suspect it's the most frustrating thing for the boys in there because they worked their bag off and they deserve to be playing in a game 7. I really wanted that one last night, the game 6. Because I was thinking to myself, game 7, you know what? Win or lose, you're probably supposed to lose to Edmonton in their barn on game 7. But those boys that were out there playing in that series for Kings, they did a good enough job and they deserve to be playing in game 7. It's unfortunate that we're not there.
Guys, I don't think we need to go any farther than that. I think Josh is just a perfect way to end episode 7. Obviously, next episode, join us again for next episode. We're going to hop into a series recap where we dive into key games, turning points in the series, and obviously the overall analysis of the playoffs. We've got a lot more on tap for us coming in the future. Follow us on social media, folks, and thanks for watching.
Stutzel, Tim Stutzel, Timmy Tugel.